Everybody wants to blame somebody else for their problem. I couldn't get this. I couldn't get that. No, not to say that you are the problem, but you got to start with yourself. Keep watching to find out what book I'm talking about today. Hey you guys, it's Denanyoh, and today we're talking about why you need to start with yourself. I just read the book called Start With Yourself. The author of the book is Emma Green. The genre of the book is nonfiction. I will say the theme of the book is business economics. So, why should you pick up this book? If you have been watching social media at all since this book was released in May, you know that a lot of people are talking about this book. Primarily, they're talking about some of the things Emma says about parenting and how she spends 3 hours a day with her kids. I'm not going to touch on that because that was not one of the most important things that I got from the book. I will say this, read the book in its entirety. I thought I knew a lot about Emma Green. I did not. I know that she was the founding partner of Skims, and I know that she's the co-founder of Good American, which is a denim and apparel line. I did not know that she has since acquired other companies and that she did things before that. You know, people say it takes 10 years before you become an overnight success. That's basically what happened with Emma. She created a company called ITB where she was doing branding and influencer B2B sales and stuff in London. She did that for decades and working in fashion before she even started to work with the Kardashians and Skims and Good American. I didn't know. So the book was really interesting because it debunked a lot of the judgments that I had about her and thinking that I knew her, and I really didn't. But the book is split up in 4 big ways. The first one is vision. The second is managing emotions. The third is old thoughts. And then the last, which is like 3 pages, is called action. One of the things that first hit me in the book is when Emma talks about your emotional hygiene. She talks about how when she was growing up, she had a lot of scarcity mindset. She had a lot of fear. She had a lot of anger that she had to deal with. And she talks about how you have to manage your emotional hygiene. That is such an interesting way of describing that in a way that I had not even considered. But your emotional hygiene is, how are you feeling? How do things impact you? How do you carry them with you? One of the things she does is she talks about the distinguishment between emotions and your feelings, right? And emotion is, I'm happy today. I feel good. Things are great. And you walk and you stub your toe and now you're in a bad mood for the rest of the day. You need to manage that. And I hadn't heard it described in that way, right? I've always struggled with what's the difference between a feeling and an emotion? Well, an emotion is something that is meant to change, meant to move. And that's what she means when she talks about your emotional hygiene. Don't let being frustrated that you stubbed your toe now spoil the rest of your day. Deal with your feelings and how that will impact your life, not so much the emotions, right? Because those are going to always be moving. By far, the longest part of the entire book is old thoughts. This was also my favorite part of the book because you get a lot of compare and contrast. Old thought, friends and money don't mix. New thought, you can make a lot of money and you don't have to involve friends. Old thought, ask all your friends when they're having kids, you can have your kids together. New thought, manage your body and your life with your partner the way you want to. And these are things that we should know, but that's where she comes off as being kind of abrasive, or when she's called Emma Greedy. And it's that's not true. It's just that that's who she is. And we're so used to this American, and especially me, I'm in Ohio. There's this whole Midwest nice where you're just, and you know good and well you're not going to do it, but we just do that. And she was not used to that when she came here from London. And then she's I already got my husband over here who already is very direct. I was just expecting people to be like that, and they're not. So that was also one of the old thoughts she had. And then the new thoughts are, can we get rid of this just saying, yes, okay, we'll do it thing when you really don't want to do it? Which I appreciated reading. That is something I had to teach myself. People would tell me that I was fickle. And the truth is, I would agree to do stuff before I had actually considered whether or not I wanted to do it. Then once I decided whether or not I wanted to do it, I would then cancel. And it's well, so now I try to just say, can you give me a beat? Can I sleep on that and let you know? Because it's going to be a no. I just was always afraid to give them the no. But Emma's let's stop doing that. Let's just be honest. Let's just be honest off jump, okay? Another thing I really liked from the Old Thoughts, New Thoughts is where Emma talks about how she has almost never really cared about what other people thought because she had to drop out of high school early. She did not know what to call it at the time, but she grew up dyslexic. And so she would sometimes have the attention span, and then when she wanted to focus on stuff, her eyes weren't working and she couldn't read things properly and those kind of stuff. So she figured out early on in her career, enough with this. I know I deserve to be here. I know I can outwork all of y'all. And because of that, she has carried that same confidence with her through everything, right? Confidence is grown. It's not something that you're just born with. So she was like, if I can handle that, I know I can handle the next. I know I can handle the next. And she has. And now she's to the point where she's writing a book that is in great demand. I was so happy that I could get it from my local library. But a book that is in high demand and one that I will purchase and then keep rereading, because this is definitely a textbook that you will reference often. And just as a quick segue, I once heard someone say, when you write a nonfiction book, people expect you to read the first third of it and that's it. And that's probably why I don't look at table of contents, because I read the whole book. I'm reading into the last page and I'm reading to see who her agent is in case I need her. I read the whole book. So y'all read the whole book. It is so, so good and chock full of information. And we all could use a reminder that, like, you do not have to crowdsource your decisions. I also enjoyed the part where she talks about the trade-offs in life. I think this is a little bit from where people were getting all upset with her saying she spends 3 hours a day with her kids. Listen, my kid is in summer camp from 9 o'clock until 5:30. They go to bed at 8:15. You probably got 3 hours with them anyway. Like, she's never been promoting that she was a stay-at-home mom. I don't know why people were thinking that she was spending 12 hours a day with her kid. Also, not one of those people who was intending on misunderstanding her, so that's probably why I did not misunderstand her. But work-life balance is your problem. It's not your employer's problem. If you are going into a field, working in an industry where you are expecting work-life balance, that's on you to figure out. I know before I had my child, I was working 70 hours a week. I loved it. My partner at the time was working 70 hours a week. He loved it, right? It wasn't until we had a kid, and specifically it was January 2021, and I'm watching her trying to stand up, and I'm like, I don't want to be going between my laptop and watching her. And I never imagined I would have had that, right? If it wasn't for the pandemic, she definitely would have been in daycare and I would have still been working 70 hours a week. So understand that there's trade-offs in life and it doesn't make you a terrible person, but once you own them because you trust your decisions and you're not crowdsourcing your decisions, you'll have a better time in life. Okay, again, this is a new vision for work and life. Throughout the entire book, Emma talks about her life in chapters, but she thinks about her decades as chapters. So she's like, what do I want for the next chapter? What am I doing in this chapter of my life? And it really provoked me because in the beginning part of the book, there's actual worksheets where Emma wants you to write down, this is what I want to do right now. And I'm filling out the worksheets and I'm like, if I want to be that, I have to start now to get there. Start now. Get your plan. And then even if you need to tweak it, at least you've had the plan. A lot of times we just have these things in our head and we're arrogant enough to believe that we'll just remember it. Don't do that. But Emma talks about how like your 20s, hustle, going hard, running after everything. 30s, probably fine tuning it a little bit, understanding fields where you want to be in, industries where you want to be in. 40s, that's when you get to be strategic. You are still working hard, but it's more of a strategic hard. It's less like sweat and grind and more, I make decisions all day. And I make sure I'm in the best position to make the best decisions all day, right? Emma mentions how people are always like, I know you're so busy. And she's like, I'm actually not. I just make decisions all day. I make high level decisions that impact millions of dollars and a huge workforce. She's like, I make decisions all day. And as long as I know how the decisions will impact people, know what's going to come next, know what's going to happen, know that I have all the information at the time, I can trust myself and trust that I made the best decision for that moment, right? So listen, you could read this book and not get any of the stuff that I just shared because that is how important this book is, okay? The book is good. The book is very, very good. And I'm excited that it exists because it means I can read it again, all right? So, and let me know, get in the comments. Did you read it? Did you not read it because of all the stuff you heard about her and about the book? Do you think that Emma Greedy is an appropriate or fair nickname for her? She got that when she was on Shark Tank. And I will see you in the next review. Bye.